Hi everyone, welcome to Techvision Academy. In this video, we're going to be talking about CSS counters. So let's go. With CSS counter, you can create dynamic numbering of elements like headings, sections, or list items without using JavaScript. Let's proceed. So it says CSS counters are variables maintained by CSS and their value can be incremented or decremented by using CSS rules. So we have example like pizza, hamburger, dog. Like if you want to count pizza number 1, hamburger number 2, or dog number 3. Let's proceed. We have CSS automatic numbering with counters. CSS counters are like variables. That is, the variable values can be incremented or decremented by CSS rules. To work with CSS counter, we'll use the following properties. We'll use the CSS counter reset, that is, creates or resets a counter. We'll use the counter increment, that is, increment or decrement a counter. We'll use the content, that is, it inserts generated content using inside, that's before pseudo classes, pseudo elements, and after pseudo elements. I hope you remember that. To insert the generated content. And we have counter function and counters as it, and this adds the value of a counter to an element. So to use a CSS counter, it must first be created with the counter reset property. So let's start. We'll make example on this counter reset property. Let's go. So we'll come to our body. The first thing, we can have h1 and we'll say using CSS counters. Then after that, well, we can have h2 as well. H2, which will say HTML, let's say HTML tutorials. Then we can have p tags saying some description. Some descriptions. I just put this. Then after HTML, we would have another one, which will be h2. We'll say CSS tutorials. And we can also have p tags on, yes. Then this is that. We can have Python as well, or also have one more, Java. So that is that. Then we'll come to our style. Then the first thing we're going to do in our style, we're first going to style the body. Inside the body, we'll have to set it to counter reset, and we'll set it to section. Yes. Then after that, we'll have to style our h2. Inside the h2, we'll use the before pseudo elements. Then inside it, we'll have counter increment. It should be section. Then after this section, we'll say content should be section. Then inside section, we'll have counter section. Then after this counter section, we want it to have this, then we can close it. Yes. So that is that. So this is just for the counter part. Now let's check our results. This is set already. Now let's check it out. So can you see this has counted each section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, section 5. So that's for the counter part. Now let's move to the next example, which says CSS increase and decrease counter. The following examples create a counter for the page that is in the body selector. Then it increments the counter by 1 for each element and add the section plus counter value to the beginning of each element. So this is our example. And it says the counter increment property has a second parameter. That is the value of this is 1, which increments the counter by 1. To decrease the counter value, you have to set it to -1. So let's create an example on that increment and decrement. So in this increment, we already have this. Then in our CSS too, we already have it. This is counter increment. But if we want it to decrease, we'll say increment -1. So that is for the decrease section, -1. Then that is for the decrease section. Now let's check it out. Can you see the difference between the decrement and the increment? So this is just that. I hope you understand. Now let's move to the next part. The next part says the following example is the same as above, but here But yeah, we decrease the counter value for each element and add the selection plus minus to the beginning of it. Then this follows example, it does the same thing. It's still the same thing for, can you say the section is the same thing? Let's move to the next one. We have using two counters. The following example creates one counter for the page that is named section and the other counter for each element named subsection. The section counter will be counted for each element with section plus underscore section counter, and the subsection counter will be counted for each element with the section counter and subsection counter. So let's create an example around that. We would remove all of this counter the way we have it here. Then inside it, we'll have H2. We can have H1. And this side H1 will say HTML / CSS tutorial. Then after that, we can have H2, which will be HTML, CSS, H2, JavaScript. You can give me another one again, Python and Java. So that is that for one part. Then we'll also have another one, which will say H1, scripting tutorial, scripting tutorials. Then in this place, we have JavaScript. We can remove all of this one. So in this place, we have JavaScript, Python, and this. Then we can have one H1 programming tutorial. Then in this aspect, you can have H2, which is Python, just for listing. H2, which is Java, and you can say C++, H2, which is C++. So that is that for this aspect. Then we'll come to our style. What are we going to do in our style? We've already styled the body. In this aspect, we'll say H1. Inside H1, what do we want? We want counter as well. Counter reset, which will be section, yes. Then after that, then we'll have H1 with the before element, and inside this before element, we'll say counter increment, which will be section. Then we'll say content, we'll say section. Then for the content, we'll say section. Then we'll have it like this. Then that is this for this part. Then as well, we'll have the H2 for the before elements. Then inside this, we'll say counter increment, which will be section. But this will not be like this. It will be content. Inside content, we'll say counter section. Then after this one, we would have a dot, and we'll also say counter subsection. Then we'll also leave a space for it like this. So that is all for this. Now let's check our results with this example. So can you see how the counter works? So this is H1, H2, like section 1, section 2, section 3. Something is wrong with this place. So this place should be subsection. Yes. Now let's check it out. It should give us our proper result. Can you see? Section 2, we have 3, 4. Section 5, we have 6, 7, 8. Section 9, we have 10, 11, 12. Thank you for watching this video. Please do well to follow us across all socials at Techvision Academy. See you next time. Bye.